The ice-cold wind cut through Zachary Carson's worn jacket as he watched his breath form white clouds in the early morning darkness. And for just a moment, he considered driving past the stranded vehicle ahead, but his conscience would not let him be that kind of man. He pulled his truck over to the shoulder of the deserted highway, hazard lights blinking against the pre-dawn gloom. The other car's taillights glowed red through the swirling snow, its back end wedged deep into the snowbank along the side of the road. Zachary killed his engine and stepped out into the bitter cold, his work boots crunching through the fresh powder. "Hey," he called out, approaching the driver's side window. "You need help?" The window rolled down to reveal a woman with striking green eyes and dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She looked exhausted and frustrated, her expensive-looking coat dusted with snow. "Yes, please," she said, her voice carrying relief and embarrassment in equal measure. "I hit a patch of ice and lost control. I have been trying to get out for 20 minutes. Zachary nodded, already assessing the situation. "I will get you out. Put it in neutral when I tell you and steer straight once you feel movement." He moved to the back of her luxury sedan, a car that probably cost more than he made in 3 years. The irony was not lost on him. Here he was, barely scraping by, helping someone who clearly had money to spare. But that was just who he was. His father had taught him that helping others was not about what you got in return. The snow was deeper than he had expected. Zachary planted his feet and pushed against the car's frame, his muscles straining. Nothing. He adjusted his position, dug his boots in deeper, and pushed again. This time he felt the car shift slightly. "Okay," he shouted. "Put it in drive and give it some gas. Easy, though." The engine revved and the wheels spun. Zachary pushed harder, his face turning red with exertion despite the freezing temperature. The car rocked forward an inch, then 2. He kept pushing, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Finally, with one more massive effort, the car broke free from the snowbank and rolled forward onto clear pavement. Zachary bent over, hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. His back already ached, and he knew he would feel this tomorrow. He was only 32, but years of construction work and single parenting had left their mark. The woman pulled her car fully onto the shoulder and got out. Up close, she was even more striking than he had first noticed. Mid-20s, maybe early 30s, with an air of confidence that seemed only temporarily shaken by her predicament. "Thank you so much," she said, extending her hand. "I am Beatrice Laurent. You are a lifesaver." "Zachary Carson," he replied, shaking her hand. Her grip was firm, businesslike. "Just glad I came along. You should not be out here alone in this weather. Storm is supposed to get worse." "I know. I was trying to get home before it hit, but I left the office too late." She pulled out her phone. "Please let me pay you for your help, or at least buy you breakfast." "There is a diner about 5 miles ahead." Zachary shook his head. "No need, just doing what anyone would do." "Please," Beatrice insisted. "It is the least I can do. Besides, you look half frozen. A hot cup of coffee and a warm meal would not hurt, would it?" He was about to refuse again when he realized she was right. He was freezing, and he had skipped dinner last night to save money. His 6-year-old daughter, Zara, was still asleep at his sister's house, and he did not need to pick her up for another hour. "All right," he conceded. "I could use some coffee." They drove separately to the diner, a small truck stop that was nearly empty at this early hour. Inside, the warmth hit Zachary like a wave, and he realized just how cold he had been. They slid into a booth, and a tired-looking waitress brought them menus and coffee. "So, what has you out on the road at 5 in the morning?" Beatrice asked, wrapping her hands around her coffee mug. "Work," Zachary said simply. "Construction site across town. We start at 6, and with this weather, I wanted to leave early. Construction work must be tough in this cold." "It is what it is. Pays the bills." He did not mention that it barely did, or that he had been picking up every extra shift he could find to make ends meet. Beatrice studied him over her coffee. There was something about this man that intrigued her. He had not hesitated to help her, had not asked for anything in return, and even now seemed uncomfortable accepting breakfast. In her world of corporate politics and calculated moves, genuine kindness had become rare. "What about you?" Zachary asked. "You said you were leaving the office." "Kind of late, was it not? Or early, depending on how you look at it," Beatrice said with a tired smile. "I run a company in the city. Sometimes the work just does not stop. Must be a demanding job. It has its moments." She did not elaborate, and Zachary did not push. He got the sense that she was used to keeping her cards close to her chest. The waitress returned and they ordered. Zachary got the basic breakfast special, while Beatrice ordered the same. As they waited for their food, the conversation flowed more easily. They talked about the weather, about the city, about nothing particularly deep. But it was comfortable. When their food arrived, Beatrice noticed how Zachary ate with the efficiency of someone who did not know when his next meal might come. It reminded her of her own childhood before her career had taken off, when every meal had been precious. "Do you have family?" she asked. Zachary's face softened immediately. "A daughter, Zara, she is 6. "That is a lovely name." "Her mother picked it," Zachary said, his voice quieter now. "She passed away 3 years ago. Cancer." "I am so sorry," Beatrice said, and she meant it. She saw the pain flash across his face, quickly hidden but unmistakably there. "Thank you. It has been rough, but Zara and we make it work. She is my whole world." The sincerity in his voice struck something in Beatrice. She had devoted herself entirely to her career, building her company from the ground up, and had little time for relationships or thoughts of family. But hearing Zachary talk about his daughter with such obvious love made her wonder what she might be missing. "She is lucky to have a father who cares so much," Beatrice said. "I am the lucky one," Zachary replied. "She is what keeps me going." They finished their breakfast, and Zachary glanced at his watch. "I should get going. Need to pick up Zara before work." "Of course." Beatrice pulled out her wallet, but Zachary had already stood up. "I will get this," he said. "No, please, I insist. You saved me this morning. And you bought me breakfast. We are even." His tone was gentle but firm. There was a pride there that Beatrice recognized and respected. "Then at least let me leave the tip," she said. "Deal." As they walked out to the parking lot, the snow had picked up again. Beatrice pulled a business card from her purse and handed it to Zachary. "If you ever need anything, please do not hesitate to call," she said. Zachary took the card, glancing at it briefly. "Beatrice Laurent, CEO, Laurent Industries." He looked up at her, surprised. "You are that Beatrice Laurent." "I have seen your company's name on buildings downtown." "Guilty," she said with a small smile. "Does that change anything?" "Should it?" Zachary asked, genuinely confused. "You would be surprised how often it does." "Well, not for me." "You are still the person who was stuck in a snowbank this morning." He pocketed the card. "Thank you, though, for breakfast and for the offer." "Thank you for stopping. Most people would not have." "Then most people need to do better," Zachary said simply. They said their goodbyes and drove off in opposite directions. Beatrice found herself thinking about Zachary Carson as she navigated the snowy roads back to her downtown penthouse. There was something refreshingly real about him, something grounded. In her world of acquisitions and board meetings, everyone wanted something from her. Zachary had wanted nothing. Zachary, meanwhile, was thinking about Beatrice too, though he tried not to. She was clearly out of his league, not just financially, but in every way that mattered. He was a single dad barely keeping his head above water. She was a CEO running a multi-million-dollar company. Their paths had crossed by chance, and that was where it would end. He picked up Zara from his sister Jennifer's house. The little girl ran to him, her dark curls bouncing, her smile bright enough to chase away any lingering cold. "Daddy," she squealed, throwing her arms around his neck. "Hey, princess," he said, lifting her up. "You have fun with Aunt Jen?" "We watched movies and ate popcorn." Jennifer appeared in the doorway, shaking her head with a smile. "I spoiled her a bit. Sorry." "You always do," Zachary said, but there was no real complaint in his voice. Jennifer had been a godsend since his wife died, helping with Zara whenever his work schedule demanded it. How was work? Jennifer asked. It was fine. Helped someone on the road this morning, got breakfast out of it. Someone, Jennifer raised an eyebrow. She was always trying to get him to date again. Not like that, Zachary said quickly. Just someone who needed help. If you say so. Jennifer did not look convinced, but she let it drop. Zachary got Zara home and ready for school. Their apartment was small, just 2 bedrooms in an older building, but it was clean and warm. He had made sure of that. Zara's room was filled with secondhand toys and books, but she never complained. She was a happy kid, resilient despite everything she had been through. After dropping Zara at school, Zachary headed to work. The construction site was a mess in the snow, but they pushed through. His body ached from pushing the car that morning, but he did not mention it. He could not afford to seem weak or unreliable. Jobs were hard enough to keep as it was. Days passed. The snow eventually melted and life went on. Zachary fell back into his routine of work, picking up Zara, dinner, homework, bedtime, repeat. It was exhausting but fulfilling. Zara was thriving, and that was all that mattered. He had almost forgotten about Beatrice Laurent when his phone rang 2 weeks later. Unknown number. Hello, Zachary Carson, a professional female voice. Yes. This is Sarah calling from Laurent Industries. Miss Laurent asked me to reach out to you. She would like to invite you to lunch if you are available. Zachary was taken aback. Lunch? Why? Miss Laurent did not provide specifics, just asked that I arrange a meeting if you were interested. Are you available this Saturday at noon? She suggested a restaurant called Marco's downtown. Saturday was his day with Zara. He never scheduled anything that interfered with their time together, but something made him pause. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was the memory of those green eyes. Can I bring my daughter? He asked. There was a brief pause. Let me check, he heard muffled conversation. Miss Laurent says that would be lovely. Then yes, I am available. Wonderful, I will send you the details. Thank you, Mr. Carson. Zachary hung up, staring at his phone in confusion. Why would a CEO want to have lunch with him? He had done her a small favor weeks ago. Surely that did not warrant this. When Saturday came, he dressed Zara in her nicest dress and himself in the only button-down shirt he owned that did not have paint stains. Marco's was the kind of restaurant he would never be able to afford on his own. The kind with cloth napkins and wine lists. Beatrice was already there when they arrived, sitting at a quiet corner table. She stood when she saw them, and Zachary noticed she looked different than she had that snowy morning. More polished, more in her element, but her smile was warm and genuine. Zachary, thank you for coming, she said, then looked down at Zara. And you must be Zara. Your father told me about you. I am Beatrice. Zara, usually shy around strangers, smiled. You have pretty hair, Beatrice laughed. Thank you, so do you. They sat down, and Zachary felt deeply out of place among the well-dressed clientele and expensive decor. But Beatrice seemed determined to put them at ease, asking Zara about school and her favorite subjects. I like art, Zara said proudly. I draw pictures all the time. Art is wonderful, Beatrice said. I used to draw when I was your age. Really, though I was not very good at it. Zara giggled, and Zachary found himself relaxing slightly. Whatever this was about, Beatrice was making an effort with his daughter, and that meant something to him. After they ordered, Beatrice turned to Zachary. I am sure you are wondering why I asked you here. The thought crossed my mind, he admitted. I have been thinking about that morning we met, about how you helped me without hesitation, without expecting anything in return. That kind of character is rare, especially in my world. She paused, choosing her words carefully. My company is expanding. We are opening a new manufacturing facility outside the city, and I need people I can trust to help manage the construction and eventual operations. I would like to offer you a job. Zachary stared at her. A job? Yes. As a construction supervisor initially, with the possibility of moving into facility management once the building is complete. The pay would be significantly better than what you are making now, and it comes with benefits. Health insurance, retirement, the works. I do not understand. You do not know me. You do not know my qualifications or my work history. I had my HR department look into you after our breakfast, Beatrice admitted. Your former employers had nothing but good things to say. You are reliable, hardworking, and honest. Those are the qualities I value most. Zachary felt a surge of emotions: gratitude, suspicion, hope, fear. This is because I helped you that morning. Partly, Beatrice said honestly, but also because I think you would be good at the job. I am not offering charity, Zachary. I am offering an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. He looked at Zara, who was coloring on the kids' menu the waiter had brought. Everything he did was for her. This could change their lives. Better pay, health insurance, a stable future, but something felt off about accepting. I need to think about it, he said finally. Of course. Take all the time you need. Beatrice pulled out another business card, this one with a handwritten number on the back. That is my personal cell. Call me when you have decided. The rest of the lunch was pleasant. They talked about lighter things, and Zachary found himself genuinely enjoying Beatrice's company. She was intelligent and funny, and she seemed to really connect with Zara. By the time they left, Zara was chattering happily about the nice lady. That night, after Zara was asleep, Zachary sat at his small kitchen table with Beatrice's card in front of him. Jennifer had come over and he had told her everything. You have to take it, she said immediately. Zach, this is the break you have been praying for. But is it real? Or is this some rich person's guilt trip? Does it matter? She is offering you a real job with real benefits. Think about what this could mean for Zara. Better schools, a nicer place to live, security. I do not want handouts. It is not a handout if you earn it, Jennifer pointed out. She said herself she checked your work history. You are qualified. She is a CEO, Jen. We are from different worlds. So, you met, you helped her. She is grateful and wants to help you back. Let her. Zachary wanted to argue more, but deep down, he knew his sister was right. This was not about his pride. It was about giving Zara the best life he could. He called Beatrice the next morning. I will take the job, he said when she answered, on one condition. What is that? I want to earn this. No special treatment. If I am not cutting it, you tell me. Deal, Beatrice said, and he could hear the smile in her voice. Can you start Monday? Monday works. The new job was everything Beatrice had promised and more. The pay was nearly double what he had been making, and the health insurance alone was a game changer. Zachary threw himself into the work, determined to prove he deserved the opportunity. The construction site was larger and more complex than anything he had worked on before, but he adapted quickly. He had always been good at problem solving, at managing crews, and keeping projects on schedule. Within the first month, he had earned the respect of the team. Beatrice visited the site regularly, checking on progress and meeting with contractors. Zachary found himself looking forward to her visits more than he wanted to admit. They would walk the site together, discussing timelines and challenges, and somehow the conversation always drifted to more personal topics. How is Zara adjusting? Beatrice asked during one visit, hard hat tucked under her arm. She is great, joined an after-school art program. She loves it. That is wonderful. You must be proud. Every single day, Zachary said. Then, before he could stop himself, he added, you should come by sometime, see her artwork. She talks about you, you know. Beatrice looked surprised. She does? Yeah, you made an impression at lunch. She keeps asking when we will see the nice lady again. I would love that, Beatrice said softly. If you are sure. I am sure. Beatrice came over the following Saturday. Zachary had cleaned the apartment twice, suddenly self-conscious about how small and shabby it must seem to someone like her. But Beatrice did not seem to notice or care. She brought art supplies for Zara, which sent the little girl into ecstasies of joy. They spent the afternoon sitting at the kitchen table, Zara between them, drawing and painting. Beatrice proved to be good with kids, patient and encouraging. Zachary watched them together and felt something shift in his chest. something he had not felt since his wife died. It scared him. After Zara went to bed, Zachary and Beatrice sat on the small couch with mugs of tea. "Thank you for today," Zachary said. "You did not have to bring all those supplies." "I wanted to. Zara is a special kid. She is. You have done an amazing job with her, you know. Raising her alone after losing her mother, that takes incredible strength." Zachary looked down at his mug. "Some days I do not feel very strong. Some days I feel like I am barely holding it together. But you do hold it together. For her, that is what matters." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Beatrice said, "Can I tell you something?" "Sure." "That morning you helped me, I was at my lowest point. I had just finalized a major deal that should have been a triumph, but I felt empty. I had built this company, achieved everything I thought I wanted, but I had no one to share it with. I was driving home in a snowstorm at 5 a.m, completely alone." She looked at him. "And then you appeared, this stranger who helped me without wanting anything in return. It reminded me that there was still good in the world. That is why I reached out to you, not just because I wanted to help you, but because I needed to be around someone real." Zachary met her eyes. "I am glad I stopped that morning. So am I." The moment hung between them, charged with possibility. But Zachary pulled back. He could not afford to complicate things. She was his boss now, and more than that, she was still from a completely different world. Beatrice seemed to sense his retreat. She stood, gathering her coat. "I should go." "Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming." At the door, she paused. "Zachary, I hope you know I meant what I said at lunch that first time. This is not charity. You are doing an excellent job. The site manager told me you are the best supervisor he has ever worked with." "I am just doing my job. You are doing more than that," she smiled. "Good night, Zachary." "Good night, Beatrice." After she left, Zachary stood in his quiet apartment thinking he was falling for her. He had been fighting it, denying it, but it was true, and that was dangerous. Because what could he possibly offer someone like Beatrice Laurent? The weeks turned into months. The construction project progressed ahead of schedule, thanks in large part to Zachary's management. He and Beatrice continued to see each other regularly, always under the guise of work or casual friendship. But there was an undercurrent that neither could ignore. Zara adored Beatrice, and the feeling was clearly mutual. Beatrice started joining them for Saturday activities. The park, the library, the movies. It felt natural, easy, like they were becoming a family that thought both thrilled and terrified Zachary. Jennifer noticed, of course. "You have feelings for her," she said bluntly one evening while watching Zara play. "It does not matter," Zachary replied. "Why not?" "Because she is Beatrice Laurent, CEO of a major corporation, and I am a construction supervisor who lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. So, she clearly likes you too. I have seen how she looks at you. You are imagining things. Am I?" When was the last time a billionaire spent her Saturdays hanging out with a working-class single dad and his kid? She is not a billionaire. "You know what I mean. Zach, you deserve to be happy. Sarah would want you to be happy." The mention of his late wife made Zachary flinch. "I do not know if I am ready. It has been 3 years. You do not have to feel guilty for moving on." But it was not just guilt. It was fear. Fear of losing someone again. Fear of not being enough. Fear of hurting Zara if things did not work out. The turning point came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Zachary was at the construction site when he got a call from Zara's school. She had fallen on the playground and hit her head. They wanted him to come pick her up. He drove like a maniac to the school, his heart in his throat. When he got there, Zara was in the nurse's office with an ice pack on her forehead. She was crying, and the sight of tears on her face made his chest ache. "Daddy," she sobbed, reaching for him. He scooped her up, careful of her head. "I am here, princess, I am here. What happened?" The nurse explained that she had tripped and fallen, hitting her head on the edge of a slide. It did not seem serious, but they recommended having her checked out by a doctor. Zachary's new health insurance had not kicked in yet. It would not for another 2 weeks. He had some money saved, but an emergency room visit could wipe him out. But this was Zara. There was no question. He was buckling her into his truck when Beatrice called. He had forgotten he was supposed to meet her at the site for a walkthrough with potential investors. "Zachary, are you on your way? The investors are here." "I am sorry," he said, his voice tight. "Zara got hurt at school. I need to take her to the hospital." "Is she all right?" The concern in Beatrice's voice was immediate and genuine. "I think so, but I need to be sure." "Which hospital?" "St. Mary's, probably." "I will meet you there." "You do not have to do that. Your investors can wait. I will be there soon." She hung up before he could argue. Zachary drove to the hospital, Zara quiet now but still holding the ice pack to her head. The emergency room was crowded, and the intake nurse told him it would be a 2-hour wait. He sat with Zara in his lap, trying to keep her calm and distracted. She was being brave, but he could tell she was scared. He was scared, too. Beatrice arrived 20 minutes later, still in her business suit, slightly out of breath. She had clearly run from her car. "How is she?" she asked, sitting down beside them. "She is okay, just waiting to be seen." Beatrice looked at Zara. "Hey, sweetie, that is quite a bump you have got there." "It hurts," Zara said in a small voice. "I bet it does, but you are being very brave." Beatrice pulled something out of her purse, a small stuffed bear. "I keep this in my car for emergencies. I think you need him more than I do right now." Zara took the bear, hugging it to her chest. "Thank you." "You are welcome." Zachary felt his throat tighten with emotion. This woman had left important investors to rush to a hospital for his daughter. That meant something. It meant everything. When they finally saw the doctor, Beatrice came with them. She held Zara's hand during the examination, distracting her with funny stories about when she was a clumsy kid. The doctor confirmed it was just a mild concussion. Nothing serious, but Zara needed to rest for a few days. At the billing desk, Zachary braced himself for the damage. The woman behind the counter typed on her computer, frowned, and typed some more. "It looks like your bill has been taken care of," she said. "What? By who?" "I am not at liberty to say, but it is marked as paid in full." Zachary turned to Beatrice, who was suddenly very interested in the waiting room magazines. "Beatrice, do not," she said quietly. "Please, let me do this. I cannot let you pay for, then pay me back if it makes you feel better. But right now, your daughter needs to go home and rest, and you do not need to be worrying about bills." She looked at him, her eyes soft. "Let me help, please." He wanted to argue, but he was too tired and too grateful. "Okay, but I am paying you back." "Whatever you say." They left the hospital together. Zachary got Zara settled in his truck, and Beatrice stood beside him in the parking lot. "Thank you," he said, "for coming, for everything. Of course, I care about her. I care about you both. There it was, out in the open. I care about you." Beatrice, he did not know what to say. There was so much he wanted to tell her, but the words tangled in his throat. "You do not have to say anything," she said gently. "Just get her home, make sure she rests. Will you come by later to check on her, if you want me to? I want you to." She smiled, that warm, genuine smile that made his heart skip. "Then I will be there." That evening, after Zara was asleep, Zachary and Beatrice sat together on his couch again. This had become their spot, these quiet evenings after his daughter went to bed. "She is going to be fine," Beatrice said. "Kids are resilient. I know, but it never stops being terrifying when they get hurt. I cannot imagine the responsibility of it all. It is the best and hardest thing I have ever done." He looked at her. "You would be a good mother, you know. The way you are with Zara. I have never really thought about kids. My career has been everything." Has been, past tense. Beatrice was quiet for a moment. "Lately, I have been questioning what is really important. I built this company from nothing. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. But at the end of the day, I go home to an empty apartment. I have employees, not friends, business contacts, not family." She turned to face him. "And then I met you. You have so little, comparatively, but you are rich in all the ways that actually matter. You have Zara, you have your sister, you have a life full of love and meaning. I envy that. You could have that too. Could I?" There was a vulnerability in her voice he had never heard before. Yes. They were sitting close now, their faces inches apart. Zachary could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive. He could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. "Zachary," she whispered, "what are we doing?" "I do not know," he admitted, "but I do not want to stop." He kissed her. It was soft at first, tentative, as if they were both afraid the other might pull away. But then Beatrice leaned into him, her hand coming up to cup his face, and the kiss deepened. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Zachary rested his forehead against hers. "I have wanted to do that for months," he confessed. "So have I. This is complicated. I know, you are my boss. Technically, yes, and we are from completely different worlds." "None of that matters to me," Beatrice said firmly, "unless it matters to you." Zachary pulled back to look at her properly. "My life is not glamorous. I have a 6-year-old who will always come first. I live in a small apartment. I cannot afford fancy restaurants or trips to Europe." "I do not want fancy restaurants or trips to Europe." "Well, maybe someday, but that is not what this is about." She took his hands in hers. "I want this. This couch in this small apartment with you and Zara sleeping in the next room. I want Saturday mornings at the park and terrible kids' movies. I want real life with real people who genuinely care about each other. I want you." "I want you too," Zachary said, his voice rough with emotion. "I have been fighting it because I was scared. Scared of not being enough, scared of losing someone again, but I am tired of being scared." "Then do not be. We will figure this out together." They kissed again, and this time it was different. This was not exploration but confirmation. This was a promise. They dated for 6 months before Zachary officially moved into Beatrice's place, though calling it a place was an understatement. It was a massive penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Zara got her own room that was bigger than their entire old apartment, and she decorated it with help from both Zachary and Beatrice. The transition was not without challenges. The media got wind of their relationship, and suddenly, Zachary found himself in gossip columns as the mystery man who had captured the heart of the city's most eligible bachelor woman. It was uncomfortable and invasive, but Beatrice handled it with grace, making it clear through her actions and words that Zachary was not a phase or a publicity stunt. At work, Zachary insisted on transferring to a different project to avoid any appearance of impropriety. Beatrice agreed, though she made sure he received a promotion to project manager in the process. He earned it. His track record spoke for itself, but the optics mattered. The hardest part was dealing with his own insecurities. There were moments when Zachary felt like he did not belong in Beatrice's world. Charity galas where the price of admission could have fed his family for a year. Business dinners where people casually discussed 6-figure deals, but Beatrice never made him feel less than. She introduced him proudly, defended him fiercely against any subtle condescension, and made it clear that she had chosen him for who he was, not despite it. Zara thrived. She got into a better school, had access to art programs and tutors, and more importantly, she had 2 parents who adored her. Beatrice was careful never to try to replace Zara's mother, but she loved the little girl fiercely, and Zara loved her back. "Can I call you Mom?" Zara asked one evening while they were all making dinner together. Beatrice froze, a knife hovering over the cutting board. Zachary stopped stirring the pot on the stove. The question hung in the air. "If you want to," Beatrice said carefully, her voice thick with emotion. "But only if you want to. There is no pressure." "I want to," Zara said simply. "You do mom things. You take care of me and Daddy. You are here every day. That makes you my mom." Beatrice set down the knife and knelt down to Zara's level. "That would make me very happy, but we will always remember your first mom too, okay? She will always be special." "I know," Zara said. "Daddy tells me about her all the time." "But you are special too." Beatrice pulled Zara into a hug, tears streaming down her face. Zachary joined them, wrapping his arms around both of his girls. This was his family now, the 3 of them together. A year after they started dating, Zachary proposed. Not with an expensive ring or an elaborate plan, but with his grandmother's modest diamond ring on a quiet Sunday morning in their living room. Zara was between them on the couch, and Beatrice was in her pajamas, no makeup, hair messy. She looked perfect. "Marry me," Zachary said simply. "Not because I think I have to, or because it is what people expect, but because I love you and I want to spend every day for the rest of my life with you." "Yes," Beatrice said without hesitation. "Yes, absolutely yes." They married 6 months later in a small ceremony with just close family and friends. Jennifer cried through the whole thing. Zara was the flower girl and took her job very seriously. It was perfect because it was theirs. Beatrice scaled back her hours at the company, bringing in a managing director to handle day-to-day operations. She remained CEO and involved in major decisions, but she made room in her life for the things that mattered most. Family dinners, school plays, lazy Sunday mornings. Zachary continued to grow in his career, eventually becoming the head of operations for all of Laurent Industries' manufacturing facilities. He was good at it, bringing a combination of practical experience and genuine care for the workers. He never forgot where he came from, and he made sure the company treated its employees with respect and dignity. 2 years into their marriage, they decided to have a baby. Or rather, Beatrice brought it up one night in bed. "What would you think about giving Zara a sibling?" she asked nervously. Zachary turned to look at her. "Are you serious?" "I am. I know we have not talked about it much, but I have been thinking, I love being a mother to Zara. I would love to experience it from the beginning with you." "I would love that," Zachary said, pulling her close. "I would love that so much." Their son, Marcus, was born 9 months later. He had Beatrice's green eyes and Zachary's dark hair. Zara was smitten from the moment she met him, insisting on helping with everything. Life was not perfect. They had their struggles and disagreements like any couple. Beatrice could be controlling when she was stressed, defaulting to CEO mode even at home. Zachary could be stubborn and proud, still sometimes struggling to accept help even from his wife. But they worked through it together, with love and patience and genuine respect for each other. 5 years after they married, Zachary stood in the living room of their home, watching his family. Zara was now 11, showing Beatrice something on her phone, probably a drawing or art project. Marcus, now 3, was building with blocks on the floor. This was everything he had never dared to dream of after Sarah died. Beatrice caught him watching and smiled. "What are you thinking about?" "That morning," he said, "when you were stuck in the snowbank. Best wrong turn I ever made." "You think about what would have happened if I had driven past." "I try not to," Beatrice said honestly. "Because then I might not have this. You, Zara, Marcus, this life we have built together." I was so close to not stopping. I was running late, and it was freezing, and I almost talked myself out of it. But you did not, because you are a good man who helps people. That is who you are. Zachary crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. "I love you." "I love you too." Zara made a gagging sound. "Gross, they are being mushy again." "Get used to it, kid," Zachary said with a laugh. "You are stuck with us." As the sun set through the windows, painting the room in gold and amber light, Zachary reflected on how much his life had changed. He had been struggling, barely keeping his head above water, raising his daughter alone and wondering if things would ever get easier. And then one snowy morning, he had stopped to help a stranger. That single act of kindness, that one moment where he had chosen to be the person his father raised him to be, had changed everything. Not just because Beatrice had given him a job or changed his financial circumstances, though those things mattered, but because she had given him something more valuable. She had given him love, partnership, and a future full of possibility. He thought about the business card she had given him that first morning at the diner. He still had it, tucked away in his wallet. A reminder that sometimes the smallest moments could have the biggest impacts. That kindness was never wasted. That love could come from the most unexpected places. Their life was not a fairy tale. They worked hard at their marriage, at their family, at building a life together. But it was real and honest, and full of the kind of love that lasted. The kind that was built on friendship and respect, and choosing each other every single day. Beatrice had told him once that he was rich in all the ways that mattered. Now, standing in their home with their children around them, he finally understood what she meant. Because this right here was everything. Not the money or the big house or the successful careers. This. Family, love, belonging. He had started out as a struggling dad pushing a stranger's car out of a snowbank. Now he was a husband, a father to 2 amazing kids, and partner to an incredible woman who had chosen him, who kept choosing him. And every single day, he was grateful for that freezing morning when he had decided to stop. When he had chosen kindness over convenience, help over hurry. Because that choice had led him here, to this moment, to this life, to home. Years continued to pass, and their family grew stronger. Zara graduated high school with honors and got a full scholarship to art school. Marcus showed an early interest in building things, just like his dad. Zachary and Beatrice celebrated their 10th anniversary with a trip to Italy, just the 2 of them, while Jennifer watched the kids. They stood on a balcony overlooking Florence at sunset, and Beatrice leaned against her husband. "Do you ever miss it?" she asked. "Miss what?" "The simplicity, before all this, when it was just you and Zara in that small apartment." Zachary thought about it. "I miss some things." The intimacy of it, maybe. How every moment felt important because resources were tight. But I do not miss the struggle, the fear, wondering if I could provide for her. He kissed the top of Beatrice's head. "This is better, not because of the money or the big house, but because I have you. Because Zara has you, because we are a family." "I am glad you stopped that morning," Beatrice said softly. "So am I. Best decision I ever made. You could not have known it would lead to all this." "No, but I did it anyway, and that is the point, is it not? We do the right thing not because we know what we will get out of it, but because it is right. The rest is just blessing." They stood together as the sun disappeared below the horizon. 2 people from different worlds who had found each other in a snowstorm and built something beautiful. Something lasting. And somewhere, in a small wallet pocket, a business card with a handwritten phone number served as a reminder. That kindness matters. That strangers can become family. That love can come from the most unexpected places at the most unexpected times. That sometimes, all it takes is one person stopping to help another on a cold winter morning, and everything changes.